Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Legally Speaking with Rest the Case, where we break down complex legal issues and social issues into real conversations that matter. Today, we're diving into a topic that hits home close for many. With the increasing exposure, peer pressure, and sometimes just a lack of awareness, many youth and many young people are finding themselves caught in situations involving drug use or possession of it without fully understanding the legal consequences. So, today we're asking, how do our laws protect or punish young people? What preventive steps can be taken before things reach the courtroom? And how can legal education empower youth to make better choices? To help us navigate these questions, I'm joined by Advocate Narender Singh, an experienced legal professional who worked on ground cases involving minors and substance related offenses. Together, we'll unpack laws, look at gaps, and explore ways that we can move toward a more rehabilitative, informed, and just approach. Welcome to today's podcast, Advocate Narender. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for having me.
So we can start today's discussion by, talking about what are the most common drug-related offenses that you've seen in the youth in India today.
Well, when it comes to the most common cases related to the substance abuse, those cases are the small quantities for the personal use.
Mhm.
Because nowadays we have seen in the youth that people are availing drugs like cannabis, MDMA, LSD. We have also seen that the social media has also promoted them in a multiple ways.
Hmm.
And these youths are able to avail them either through internet or by a local peddler, and out of the curiosity they just want to dive deep into this trenches of the drugs. So this small quantity for the personal use comes under section 21 of NDPS Act, because when you are not particularly dealing with drugs, it's just you are consuming it on the personal level.
Hmm.
And as I've told you, the cannabis is the most common
Um,
among different cultures, especially in the cultures of the youth. So that is the one thing. And then other than that, there are certain drugs which are pharmaceutical in nature, tramadol. When you get to know more about them out of the curiosity, then you wish to try it, then you want your friends to try them. So that's how a person steps uh, in this trenches of the drugs that I am
right.
talking about.
Yeah. And how does the NDPS Act, like you mentioned before, how does it deal with juvenile offenders? What are the clauses for that?
Well, when it comes to NDPS Act, it applicables universally.
Okay.
Although the juveniles
Yeah.
who are into the drugs, they are protected by the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Child Act
Yeah.
2013. I think it's 2013. So those safeguards are there because they are juvenile and they would be treated according to that JJ Act, because thus any minor below 18, if even if they are into drugs, obviously that's going to be an offense. But at that time, then we do some sort of a synchronizations of the law of NDPS and as well as of the JJ Act.
Okay. Okay. And do you think that courts and law enforcement in our country are equipped to handle youth drug cases differently from adult cases?
Well, the law enforcement agencies, if we talk about, we are dealing in the drugs, then the police is the one
Hmm.
who catch people who try to prevent these drug abuses or these peddlers or these very good mafias, very big mafias who are dealing into the drugs. Other than that, there are sophisticated agencies as well, like NCB is there, CBN is there. So yes, law enforcement often, lacks in specialized training, because this is something that we have also seen in our practice, that because of these procedural lapse, because these mandatory procedures are there in the NDPS Act, and then there are rules as well. So sometimes while they do the seizure, at that time when they arrest a person, there are some practical things that they need to follow, like how to prepare a panchnama, how to inform a person about the ground of his arrest and all. So I would say yes and no as well at the same time, because a very equipped training is required for a person who is an IO or a person who is investigating such offenses or seizing drugs or catching these people who are into it. So at that time, I think any may default to treating juveniles or like adults. At the same time, the court through the JGBs are the better position
Yeah.
to face the resources and to sanitize these challenges are there.
And as you mentioned before, the Juvenile Justice Act or this protects juveniles or minors. So, can you give us an example of what are some of the protections that they have under this?
Well, the one of the benefits that the juvenile is going to get is the legal aid,
Mm. Okay.
because there are chances that his parents or he may not be avail
Yeah, yeah.
to have a lawyer, so he would get a legal aid.
Okay.
Other than that, his trial would not be considered as a trial
Okay.
that he may have faced if he would have been adult.
Okay.
So protection from a trial as an adult is the one thing. Then legal aid, it's available to him and as well as to others, but yes, the legal is there. Then I think bail is default unless and unlikely to appear or to may re-offended.
Okay.
So his chances of being bailed out would be comparatively easy than an adult if
Okay.
he's a minor consuming drugs.
Hmm.
Yes.
Do the current laws distinguish between a youth or a minor who's a first time offender versus someone who's, say for example, been regularly caught?
Well, when it comes to the provisions of NDPS, then the answer of it is a no.
Okay.
So there is no as such difference. But obviously, certain things lies in the discretion of a judge.
Okay.
So, as I have told you, the applicable laws upon that person would be of a JJ Act. So,
Hmm.
in this JJ Act, because judges or whoever is the presiding officer is going to see these acts with every facts and circumstances, and where a person who is a first time user or a consumer of a drug, he caught red-handed, has been apprehended by any of the agency, any investigating agency, so at that time this could be a thing. So because of that discretion and because of this very background of him, because of the severity that is involved, these factors one must see. And at that time, there are chances that very discretion may incline towards the very age of that person who is into it.
Okay. And do you think that we can today, like what role can schools, parents, communities play in preventing drug abuse amongst the youth?
Well, I think the very primary job of the parents
Hmm.
is to make their children educated about the psychedelics which are there
Yeah, yeah.
and what could be, the major consequences of it.
Hmm.
Multiple times it have been seen that a youth who came into an influence because of a friend or because of some movies or TV series or something, and later on they wish to try it. It's not that very easy. Psychedelic drugs and their consequences and their effects upon your mind could be drastic sometimes because you are not a professional. You don't know what is the potency of that drug that you're into. It could be organic, it could be synthetic drug. As LSD, I have seen there are songs on YouTube. There are a lot of Western culture influences there that people have been dealing with it, and there are chances that they may consider themselves cool because if they would not try it, but that is the one thing.
Right. Creating awareness
So
amongst the
yeah, creating a very awareness among the students, and
yeah,
at the same time, they requires to be educated about this very specific aspect that these things are not cool to do.
correct.
Even if you're not doing it, even if you are not into these things, you don't have experience of it, then out of the curiosity, you need not to
Hmm.
try it.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think within the legal system there needs to be any changes or anything done to prevent or reduce juvenile cases in drug use?
Well, I think yes, sudden behavioral changes can actually work in that aspect.
Mhm.
The reason of it is because this academic decline, this aggression, these secretive behaviors that the students are having, and change in this peer group because of the peer pressure. Also, the students and the
Yeah.
youths try it. So, training among school, then social workers are there, and I think, and the policy in supporting these essentials. These
Right.
policies are also required to be introduced by the government itself.
Hmm.
So, some sort of a change, a shift may come up in the very thought process regarding the drugs.
Right. Um,
Hmm.
how do you ensure that, like when we're talking about drug abuse and juvenile and youth, this is a very sensitive topic. So, how do we ensure that the legal system actually is helping these people rehabilitate and go into rehabilitation rather than this becoming a punishment for them? Um, what are your views on this?
I think diversion programs are required for this
Yeah.
thing. And at the same time, when it comes to the base rehabilitation, then restorative justice practice,
Hmm.
a very vocational training,
Yeah.
these things are required so that, the de-addictions of these drugs may be done. And
Hmm.
that can be done only through a counseling.
Correct. Correct.
So more counselors are supposed to be there
Yeah.
because sometimes people who are into it, when they start facing some sort of problems, they don't know which door to knock, where
Yeah.
to go, to whom to talk.
Right.
So yes, so these things I think supposed to be there so that they may have a proper counseling at the time.
Yeah. And also, do you think like more rehabilitation centers, more rehab centers where, youths or young people who are addicted to such drugs are able to seek proper rehab, proper treatment so that they won't go back into these practices? I think that is also.
Well, when it comes to the real life and the
Yeah.
problems that the youths are facing related to the drugs,
Mm.
at that time, as I've told you, the counseling is the one thing that can really help out.
Mm.
Other than that, the very culture which is glorifying
Correct.
this culture among the youth, I think that's supposed to be attacked, and that can be done only through a proper education
Mm.
among the society.
Right. Right. Could you also walk me through, say, for example, someone's caught with possession of some kind of drug. What is the
Mhm.
first kind of legally, what is it that they can do? Suppose there's an underage person who's caught with some possession of a drug. Um, what are the steps that they should take or their parents should take?
Well, as I have told you, once you have been caught,
Hmm.
then obviously there's going to be a legal
Yeah,
consequences. You have to face trial.
correct.
You need a lawyer as well.
Yeah,
Because primarily you have to get rid of this very legal consequences which is going to come up
right,
if you could be caught.
right.
Other than that, as I've told you, there are multiple NGOs, then there are different doctors as well, there are well qualified psychiatrists as well.
Hmm.
Maybe you need some sort of a psychological therapy as well for the de-addiction. So
Hmm.
what you can do is, if you have been caught, normally there are two sort of quantities. Because if you are an underage person, then I am presuming that the quantity which has been seized from you is the quantity which is not commercial in nature, which is
Yeah,
a small quantity. So your chances of having a bail in that is really high. Get the bail. There are certain provisions in certain substances that you may get a police bail as well. You got it. You hire a lawyer who can defend you before the court of law because you have to get rid of this entire legal battle that you need to
yeah,
contest. Other than that, being a parent, you need to educate your children.
yeah,
And those parents also may need some professional helps
correct.
from different people. It could be a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or it could be a sort of a counseling that that person is required to be done. So these steps one can take.
Right. And I think we have more or less covered all our questions for today. Anything that you would like to say before we end today's podcast, before we end today's discussion?
Well, I think the one thing that I can say is that don't hide these issues.
Hmm.
These issues are required to be highlighted.
Right,
You need to seek legal advices. You need to do the counseling at the early stage because there are chances that you may get addicted.
right.
Then you need to know your rights
Hmm.
because when you know your rights at that time, availing them would be easy for you.
Hmm.
You need the support from your family. You need early intervention so that one can prevent a long-term damage that may happen physically or mentally upon you because of these drug uses. So there is no shame in seeking help because ultimately there are problems in the society and drug is one of them.
Yeah,
And we all together have to understand the responsibility being a responsible citizen of this country and as well as this society
right.
that we need to have steps on our end so that we can encounter this problem. That's all I can say.
Well, thank you so much for today's discussion. It was a short discussion, but I think we discussed and talked about many things
Yes,
to this conversation. Important points, what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. And I think this brings us to the end of today's episode on youth and drug offenses. As we heard, the legal system has a role to play, but so do families, schools, and communities. Prevention is
yes,
critical, and legal education is a tool that the youth people deserve access to. So,
true.
like we discussed, um, more than trying to talk about what to do after. I think what is more important is that we try to
Yes,
prevent it in the first place. Um,
exactly.
and we also talked about how the perspective needs to shift from mindset to rehabilitation awareness and support, especially when
Yeah.
it comes to minors. So thank you so much for listening to Legally Speaking with Rest the Case, and a big thank you to you, Advocate Narendra, for sharing your insights. And thank you so much to our listeners for tuning in. Don't forget to share this episode and stay connected with us for more discussions that matter. Stay tuned for more conversations that empower, educate, and evolve the way we think about law. Once again, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am, to you as
Thank you.
well for having me and to give me time to speak about the issues.
It's our pleasure, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.